Hello everyone. May the 7th. Venus entered Cancer a few hours ago. This is a big moment. Venus in Cancer, that is very humanitarian, loving, caring, being here for one another, and I guess there's no better time than right now, these next days, weeks, months, which are needing that love, outpour of sympathy and empathy, and knowing that we are all connected. It's really, that is the base point of being in that energy, and it is not a personal thing, it's not an emotion. Love is a frequency, and it is the frequency of creation. It's the space between the atoms which is divine, though it is really the seed of everything, love, and we can easily reconnect with that basic frequency when Venus is in Cancer, and it is right now going for the next few weeks. Let's just look at this chart for a moment more closely. It's a powerful, powerful moment that happened. Again, cosmic synchronicity, we are getting support on all ends. It's really like the Sufi story. If I do one step towards the divine is coming 1,000 steps towards me. And that is what we are experiencing collectively right now. Getting lots of support. Yes, it's not fully visible yet. Astrology is a wonderful tool. It allows this to become visible, even though for the most part we just can sense it. We get indirect signs and signals, but it's only in the after a while after, when we can look back and see, oh right, all this magic happened kind of synchronistically to get everything ready, to the point of then suddenly popping into reality in a eureka event. And that one I see coming around June the 26th. Just mark this date on the calendar. I will get deeper into this. Still a while to go to June 26th. There's a lot of water going down the river still, and we're just getting started into the intensity of it all with this Venus Cancer ingress. It is activating something which will trigger even bigger shifts and changes, as Venus is the guiding star in the sky right now. I mean, it's obvious. Just look at it. Every evening you go out, you see Venus there, brightly prominent, the evening star in its prime position, and it's beautifully timed. It couldn't be better. Now, we're just coming out of a really interesting sequence of celestial events which I reported on in the last few videos. So I'm building on that. Where I'm starting off from is actually the event which happened short. Actually, let me first go back to this chart once more, because it really deserves it. Look at this. Ceres exactly conjunct the ascendant by 4 minutes of arc in the 12th house here, in this powerful, powerful Greenwich chart, which is the fractal of Earth. If you bring it down to one single point, that's where the umbilical cord is attached, you could say, on the 0 meridian, and at that latitude 5129, which is just 3 minutes of arc more than 5126, which is the 1/7 of a circle, a septile. It's not exactly to be measured in straight numbers. There is after the comma there's many digits, so it opens also that gate to infinity. the 7 being really a mystical number. So anyway, this again in a nutshell the explanation why I'm using Greenwich as an anchor point. Ceres, the earth goddess, very much considering the well-being of all in Virgo, the sign of healing and caretaking. Yes, Cancer and Virgo are both extremely motherly energies, caretaking in a slightly different way, whereas Cancer is really providing the most basic needs, the roots in the earth. So is Virgo more the guiding system, the intelligence behind it, the knowing how to plant, when to harvest, and in that sense also bringing in that abundance. I guess that's really one word, very important. So Ceres in Virgo is very well placed. I was expanding on the opposition of Ceres and Neptune, which is really powerful too in this present time. This is another expression of Ceres, which we are seeing all the multiple expressions of Ceres. Really, it is Earth is taking charge in a way. So Ceres is very much resonating that Mother Earth love, you could call it. Very much resonating naturally with Venus, and with Venus here high up in this chart when it turned into Cancer. Anyway, this is the degree where the moon was when Pluto turned retrograde. Here we have it. So here we bring Pluto in through the back door. You might know the story of Pluto, aka Hades, who did abduct Ceres' daughter, Persephone. A very, very profound myth that is, again an archetype, and as the story goes, Pluto with the moon and this Ceres connection here, and then we have the Venus, and which brings it down to the biological, material, physical level. So this is an attunement and really hints at that archetypal event when Hades abducted Persephone and Ceres turned her attention away from what she was meant to do, and she went into deep grief, as the story goes. Naturally, which mother wouldn't? Which, I mean, it's natural. You then go back to the most basic, which is your connections of affection, where your natural first instinct goes to save your daughter. It's very obvious. So there is something of that urgency always coming in when Pluto and Ceres interact. Keep that in mind. That is the one part of which I described in this Neptunian connection, where the water comes in. You can connect the dots there. It might be a big event ahead, which, as I said, everyone, each of us has a role to play. We will be exactly in the right place at the right time. Everything will fall in place, but there is this consideration that things will go really crazy and fall apart in that first segment of the recreation. So the next few weeks are crucial, naturally, with the last degrees of Aries left here in Jupiter's journey to the 16th. So that's just the next 8 days. Yes, these are prime times. And naturally, Pluto turned retrograde on May the 2nd. That's now, what is that now? 5 days ago. It seems like 5 centuries. But you see, And if you just tune into what's happening, it's cooking, it's boiling out there, to say the least. So anyway, let's go back into the background, and then I have a few more charts which really build the case how important this phase is with Venus in Cancer these next few weeks, as this is the pivotal turning point. As I predicted long ago, May would be the month when there will be some first very clear signs that people had enough, that they are standing together, that they're no more able to be cheated by all the fake narratives, that all of a sudden there comes the insight, oh, there's so much noise. I mean, pretty much everybody I'm talking to meanwhile tells me the same thing. They turn off the radio or the TV when the so-called news are on. I guess there's still many people which are tuned into that, but I think it's like a domino. People are falling out of that system, you could say, and this is building at an enormous speed. So yes, it's still a very systematic and organic process, because it has been left to open itself. It's like a flower. We might have wanting to take out the tweezers and pull out the petals a little faster out of that rose, but no, that's not the way to go. We have to be patient and let it unfold. It is on its way. I mean, you can feel it, and astrology even more so clearly shows that we are getting so close. I mean, just alone the Sun-Uranus conjunction here as Venus enters Cancer. So the birth chart for this 5-6 week period is having this Uranian signature, which is all about that excitement of recreation, particularly with Uranus in the 19th degree of Taurus, which, as I illustrated in many of my videos, that is a very powerful degree. First of all, it's the discovery of Neptune's ascendant, the 19th degree of Taurus, a new continent rising, it says in the Sabian symbols. So that's really what's going on. There's a new continent rising. You can literally feel it, and not that I'm meaning really, who knows, maybe that happens too, but it is the consciousness that new continent is the consciousness coming out of the subconscious, pushing through the waters into the light of the sun, and from there on everything takes over. I mean, nature takes over. Nature is always at the lead of it. As the beautiful saying is in German, der Mensch denkt, aber Gott lenkt. Der Mensch denkt, Gott lenkt, which means man thinks and God stirs, guides, or whatever the word would use. Anyway, I'm super excited. Yes, it seems to be a heavy day. And why is that? So short after Venus entered Cancer, with the moon at 10:35 Sag, which gives it the Aryan overtone, Aries thought between 10 and 12:30. So it is that pioneering, and with lots of strength, with lots of momentum, with lots of enthusiasm, very Jovian, very Jupiter-like, and Jupiter in Aries too. Yes, it is that basic mood of we're sitting on the horse, and we are the cavalry, and we are pushing forward. It is that dragon force which I described too, that the two dragons, Gong Gong, the water dragon, and Homia, the fire dragon. A little bit simplified, I certainly admit to that, but that's a very wonderful imagery for these two powerful creation forces. So anyway, a few hours after Venus entered Cancer earlier today, the black moon had its exact opposition to Chariklo. The moon, meanwhile, by 13 degrees in Sagittarius. So here you have the black moon, and here you have Chariklo. Okay, who is Chariklo? Chariklo is the midwife, in a simple way again. Chiron's wife, Chiron the wounded healer, Chariklo his wife, the midwife who holds hands, is there to care for whatever is necessary for this new creation to be given, to be supported, to be guided, to be helped to come out of that womb of chaos. So anyway, this opposition is kind of a realization of sorts of, I guess it felt a bit of a heavy day today. I guess that is the reason. There's kind of a recognition. Yes, there's quite a bit asked from us to step in and play our roles, because it's us, we are the ones we have been waiting for, as the Hopi prophecy has been telling us since ever. So it is that taking on the responsibility, which I guess many people more so every day are realizing that there's no one to be relying on, waiting for Godot, as Samuel Beckett famously wrote a play, a wonderful play, by the way, very deep. So this is kind of setting the framework. Now, this Black Moon Chariklo, again, that is kind of pushing us to recognize the depth of the task ahead. So it can feel a bit heavy. There's still such a huge mountain to be climbed, and we just got into this frequency of hexagram 7, the army, the soldier, which is ready to just take on the order by nature to do the right thing and play that role, take up the task and move ahead without second thought. Just be guided by your intuition, by your consciousness, by your conscience, however you want to call it. And I mean, it couldn't be more beautiful, the moon making here a sextile to the black moon, and a trine to the black moon, and a sextile to Chariklo. The moon softening this tension, taking off the edge, the moon being the one who comes in, steps in and says, oh yes, I can deal with that. It is that Taurian backdrop here between 12:30 and 15, that is the Taurian dwad. So all that Taurian energy of the North Node, Uranus, the Sun, Mercury is chiming in here, saying, giving support to the moon. Yes, you can do that. It's peanuts. It will fall all in place. It won't be half as bad as you maybe could think. And then the 7 degrees here, 8th degree of Scorpio and Taurus in the ascendant, and in the how this energy is meeting the earth is kind of the interactive points. They're super important. The ascendant, descendant is always where everything comes into the three-dimensional plane. These are the major entry points. So this axis is so charged. I talked about it in multiple videos around these degrees. Just think back to the green comet, which activated these degrees between 6 and 8 and 9, Scorpio and Taurus. So there's lots of that energy coming in from that side too. And as we know, it has been said, and I could pretty much exactly prove it with astrology, that this comet brought in some missing links, some information, some codes which would be necessary to unlock this conundrum, to solve this puzzle, to kind of get the seeds planted on a deep energetic level, which then would sprout in the right moment and bring up the right ideas. So anyway, this is kind of the ignition point we are at now. Let me illustrate this a little bit with my next few charts here. So heliocentrically, Venus entered Cancer already on March the 22nd. So it is that then the kind of the seed was generated, you could say. The seed was born of what is now starting to manifest. Back then it was just pure energy, it was a frequency, and now we're linking into that as it's a natural attraction. And you see, this moment in time had Mars here in the zenith position. I mean, I don't even have to say much more. This is a wonderful, powerful Mars in Leo, courage. It's kind of that chutzpah, that's knowing from a very deep level, together with Varuna, who's a beautiful guide, influence, North Star of integrity. So anyway, that was the moment, the energy we are now tuning into, picking up on, if you want to look at it that way. I mean, this chart is again rich, and I encourage you at any time in the presentation here, just put it on pause and take a screenshot of the charts, then you can look at them afterwards too. Because, I mean, I'm really just showing you these landmarks in time, which then make that three-dimensional or fourth-dimensional structure of time and space, which show you the setup where things are heading, what to be expected next. And it's really not that hard if we look at, as I always show you, how the different energies fit together, how they work as a team. It gets really more and more clear in my mind, at least, and I'm hoping I can kind of communicate that. So anyway, this is then the chart again of today. Let's just keep rolling here a bit. So let's look at this 24th degree of Virgo with Ceres, and as I said, this is when Pluto turned retrograde, going into the reflective mode of. It's like when a planet moves forward, particularly the outer ones, the collective ones, when they move forward, it's kind of, we're seeing the main action in the outside of kind of it's really like moving up, and then when the planet is retrograding, is moving in. So it is definitely a time of processing and of coming to inner conclusions, restructuring the inner energies versus the outer energies when the planet moves forward. I guess that makes sense. So anyway, with Pluto turning retrograde on May the 1st into October or so, or even later, September, October. So these next few months are really building that internal foundation for transformation. And in the end, it is an internal thing more than external, because this is where the energy is coming from. And I mean, yes, you can go back to this chart. Just look at this black moon here, squaring Earth and the Sun at the time. So this is a pretty clear signal. The intensity is upon us. It is the time of the confrontation, of working through that center piece of decisive battle, where everything is decided in the end. So it has been building up, and this is a time of culmination. There's no question in my mind. Between now and July the 23rd, when Venus turns direct, this is really the hot zone. Probably already by June the 26th, as I said earlier, we will have a real feel of rebirth, in whatever that way will be conceived, but we will come out on the other end of some sort of a pressure chamber, a bottleneck, where the new is forged, and then there comes a moment when there is a relaxation and an expansion, and that's around the 26th of June, as I see. So let's look ahead a little bit through the next few days, weeks. June the 11th, Pluto returns into Capricorn. Well, I pulled this chart up because this is the power axis, the 0 degree meridian power axis of this chart. So this is where we just had the lunar eclipse in these degrees. 1450 something was the exact degree of Sun and Moon. So Pluto back in Capricorn, yes, this will be in a bigger way when we take care for one last time of whatever has to be done in that Capricorn energy. So it is bringing to close a chapter which started in 2008. I guess that's the easiest way to see it. Whatever is left unfinished in Pluto's realm will be taken care of in these 7 months, from June the 11th till, I guess, January the 20th around in 24. So it will be the last really intense time, and with the Moon-Neptune conjunction, this is an interesting combination. So this power Pluto has is working through a Neptunian lens. Which is with Saturn in Cancer, in Pisces too. It's really about the kind of dissolving, dissolution. It's has multiple levels, but it is definitely dissolving structures, breaking down systems. But the intention is really great, and it needs to happen. And with the lunar eclipse power axis here really fueling this Pluto's last mission. Anyway, so in other words, up to June 11, Pluto is still in Aquarius. Enjoy it as long as you can. So get really charge up your Aquarian energies, and then be ready to dive once more into the chaotic zone of the last degree of Capricorn. So just really wanted to show this chart once more. That's yesterday Ceres turned direct. It's in my last recording, I guess, too. But again, you see the 16th, 17th degree now. Also very much in that zone of the eclipse powerful energies. Ceres here at, actually this is the heliocentric chart, but it doesn't really matter. It's always two different levels. Anyway, I quickly can change it, then you can also see once more the geocentric aspect of this moment, because it's really a geocentric event. So here we go. Yes, with that, yes, that was the other thing I didn't mention in my last video, that Moon 2939 Scorpio, void of course, in a most exact opposition to Sedna. This just fuels what I said earlier about Ceres in going through a process of grief, of suffering, of pulling her energies away as she wants to prioritize to rescue, save her daughter Persephone from hell, which literally is where Pluto or Hades, the lord of the underworld, took Persephone. Ceres, or Demetra's daughter, as Demetra is the Greek name. So it's an interesting thing in itself how the Greek and the Roman mythology are almost the same. They have the Romans have adopted the Greek, you could say, and they just renamed everything, relabeled everything. So anyway, it is really beautiful to see that in these two last big cultures of what we still remember now had a very similar symbology, building on their archetypes. So we still carry these archetypes, as Joseph Campbell, The Path of the Hero, Carl Gustav Jung, just mentioning a few really prominent people who were working on the symbols of our soul. And that's what astrology is. We are speaking that language, and symbols, as I always keep saying, have many, many different levels of meanings. And that is part of the upgrade we're going through, that we're experiencing a different bandwidth of a symbol's frequency as we are arising in consciousness, as we are expanding our awareness. We are leaving behind the lower frequency manifestations and move into the more refined and unpolluted, you could say. So anyway, that's kind of a little expansion on that. Look also at Saturn here. Yes, we can expect some more dramatic events to come. This is very clear in this retrograde phase, which lasts again about 5 months or so. So just so you know, not to create any fear, it's just what has to happen, has to happen. So again, lunar eclipse, just quickly to show you again the 15th degree of Taurus, where the Sun was here close with Uranus, and the 15th degree of Scorpio, where the Moon was when the eclipse was at its greatest. Also watch out that this is in a perfect T-square here with the Black Moon and Charikla we talked about before. So this really makes this theme the prominent essence of what this eclipse brings. In mid degrees of these 4 fixed signs, very powerful place in the zodiac, the central degrees of the fixed signs. It's the cross of direction, or the cross of love. I keep mixing that up, but it's one of the 8 cardinal points. Each of those, there's 8 cardinal points, the mid degrees of the fixed signs, and naturally the 0 degrees, so 0, 15, 0, 15, and so on and so forth. Just to say, this adds to the power of this lunar eclipse we just had. An incredibly potent frequency, which, as I show you, ripples out in many directions, interacts with many other charts, which then activate and use this energy right on its back, so to say. And this brings me even further back to the root of this eclipse series. This one of May 5 was part of Saros series 141. So the first eclipse of that series, which carries the frequency for the whole 1300-year evolutionary input through these different eclipse events. What stands out here naturally is the the nodes here in the mid degree of the fixed signs, with Jupiter here at 15 degrees 44 Taurus. You can't make this stuff up, it's just beautiful. So this is where the sun is, or has been, I should say, now it's a past event, when the sun was, when the lunar eclipse happened, 1452. So Jupiter in Taurus, and Jupiter will just now again enter Taurus in on the 16th. So this is going to be really the start of the glory, I could say. And I mean, yes, part of the glory will be the downfall of what is not correct and wrong. So it is intense on all levels. Jupiter will literally empower all these many planets in Taurus right now. And that's yet another sign that we're totally on track. I also like this one here in this base chart, that very smart and complex Mercury, together with the black moon, able to see the shadow, able to put its finger on the right place, on that spot which it needs to be put on. In quincunx here with Sedna, yes, this is a very powerful frequency here at the backdrop of this solar eclipse. And just look at Neptune too here. So here comes Neptune again, conjunct the descendant. Again, underlines what I said earlier. Neptune is really the one which holds all the threads in the end. It's the higher frequency of Neptune, which is imagination, which is envisioning and seeing beyond the wheel, because Neptune is really that wheel in a very real sense, as it's the final of the big planets. It kind of creates that shield, that you could call it the eggshell. And the eggshell is semi-transparent or not, depending on your frequency. So it can be just that it throws you back images which are not quite correct. Just say that much. So Neptune is the one to be worked on. And anyway, this is the base energy of this lunar eclipse series with, I shouldn't forget that, with the Virgo Pisces frequency here too coming in, very beautiful, with Salasya. I couldn't get better. Salasya is that fascination of sunlight reflected on water. I guess that's the easiest way to describe it. That's the phenomenon when you stand on a lake and the wind plays with the water and you see the sparkles of the sun dancing. It is that mesmerization of interaction of fire and water. It's the interaction phase. It's where they meet. It's a play in that sense. When you are in that zone of fascination, then it doesn't really matter what you do, how you do it. It is that moment in itself that, it's hard to describe, but you probably know what I'm talking about. So that's a fascination here which is starting to get clearer and clearer by the day. We are onto something really big here, and yes, there's work ahead. Let's get onto it as we always do. It's happening. We are motivated and we are going with the flow, and that there's not just a flow, there is a fast current, and it is it can be frightening at times. Anyway, just wanted to give you some really wonderful news today. I'm very pleased to be able to do that. With also when the sun enters then Gemini on the 21st. Look where Venus is. I mean, it couldn't be much nicer. It is a recognition that we are on the right track with the planet Mars at this moment when the sun then will enter Gemini, already in Leo. And this is actually the last chart I have here ready for you. As you see, Venus 1401 and the ascendant 1443. It's just beautiful. This is a few hours after Venus by that time has climbed down, or you could see Earth has turned, whereas here that is 3:30 in the afternoon, and that is 7:10 in the morning. Well, I'm a little confused here, sorry. Right, that is the next morning, okay. Something funny, and I'm getting lost here. Anyway, so it is super exciting times. Venus in Cancer now. Enjoy that depth, that fulfillment of emotions in Tarot. Venus in Cancer is Lord of Love. It is that very simple human frequency of appreciation of existence and feeling how we are nurtured every moment and how we are giving that back in a very organic way. It's just, you could say, once you are totally in love with yourself, then that's the frequency you're emitting, and you can't help. It's just who you are, and therefore that is maybe the last thing I want to hear say. Is the main and the most important thing is to love oneself. And Matt Kahn comes to mind. I will put the video under the link underneath. Matt Kahn is teaching this, love yourself first. I mean, as many other masters and teachers do, but he does it in a very beautiful way. Every evening when you're going to sleep, before sleep, just put your hand on your heart and say, I love you, and fall asleep with that. I love you, and you will be amazed what that does, because you can talk to yourself. Anyway, let's leave it at that, and enjoy Venus in Cancer, and just move one moment, one step at a time. It will all fall in place. the blueprint shows it. It can't go wrong anymore from this point on. Yes, that's what I said. May will be the month. Okay. Love you all. Thank you.